Hello there, Jerry Basserman from DSI. I'm going to be talking today about the Sequential Prophet X, the next evolutionary step in the Prophet line. Prophet X is a synthesizer with a huge twist, but it is a synthesizer. It's got beautiful 10-octave oscillators. If I hit the default patch here and just hear the sawtooth wave. You got two beautiful oscillators to sync to each other, to detune, to shape mod, familiar to all who play Dave Smith instruments. Beautiful analog filters, 4 envelopes, 4 LFOs. It's a full-on analog synth with one distinction, which is that you have a whole lot of samples. This is my oscillator section. This is my sample section. And here's a custom display right here next to the samples to help me look into the library of what 8DO, who's our partners in this instrument, have provided to the instrument. It's 150 gigabytes of library, which is, I think, over 200,000 samples. And you get to peruse them here using the category and program. So let me just dial up something simple. We'll turn that oscillator off and just hear a 1928 Steinway. Now, it's a beautiful stereophonic, long sound. It's not looped at all. Lots of these sounds aren't looped. All of them are very long. In fact, if I reverse it, you'll hear that it takes a long time to even hear where the end of the sound is, because everything is allowed to play out. Now, that's not just one sample. It's a complete multi-sampled key map, velocity switching 3 or 4 times. And within that piano section, there's near mics, short versions, like that. There's front mics, there's far mics, short versions, long versions, soft, near, soft player, sampled with the pedal down. I think there's 40 different arrangements just in the piano section. And in addition to the piano, there's all the departments of the orchestra, brass, winds, strings. If I just move one knob here, I get to hear some of the strings. But again, that's arco near miking. This is called deep sampling. The people at 8DO specialize in this kind of detailed, lots of articulations, lots of different playing techniques. I mean, if I go to the very end, there's 97 instruments in the string department. It's collegno, you're beating the strings with the bow. Just imagine every instrument you've ever heard of within the ethnic section, or orchestral, as I said, or even sound effects, cinematic sound effects or soundscapes. That there's that much rich, long recorded material. Now, so for example, these strings that I was just playing, if I want to actually move quickly into the sample, I can use these digital controls, which are, again, knobs, just like filter knobs and oscillator knobs. I can kind of remove that initial swell. So I can access any point of the sound, and I can choose to loop it myself, and I can modulate those loops in real time or the size of them. So it's very flexible. And what you get per voice is 2 oscillators and 2 instruments. So you have a really rich 4 sound sources that then head into the filters and the envelopes, etc. And at the end of the chain, there's dual digital effects with reverbs and delays and rotating speaker and distortion and a high-pass filter and et cetera. So there's a lot of firepower on board. Like the Rev 2, it actually has 2 layers per program that are completely independent, completely programmable, completely their own effects, their own sequences, and even BPM. So you have a lot of sound power. Let me play some of the sounds that are here. Here's one called Auto Melodic. You hear the sound of the strings going through the filters. If I can go to that section, which this is actually made out of acoustic basses, and if I go again to hit the default program, let's just listen to some of the those bass effects that are in there. A really, really snappy attack. All buzzes, some plucked, some bowed, some short, some long. Each sample has this performance, this direction, this expressive playability. And you can access, as I said before, a small part of it or a big part of it. Now, of course, I was saying that you could move loops around in real time. Here's a sound using the piano with a really long release. I call it Rainy Day because those are loops that I've now brought to the front of the sound. So I can manipulate the loop in real time, and I'm using what Dave has added, a feature called sync loop, which chooses its size to be related to the BPM that also maybe the effects are responding to and the LFO is responding to. So you have a real opportunity to play with sound and to play with the digital sound as in addition to the oscillator sound in real time. You can find your way to everything on here with knobs and buttons. I want to go to the cinema section because there's an awful lot of sounds which are completely cinematic, abstract, and really great for mood setting. Here, let's just turn this up. These are ambiances. Each key has a separate sample on it. If you like one of those samples, let's say you like this sample and you wish it was on the whole keyboard, you just hold it while you're hitting sample stretch, and now you have it interpolated along the whole 88 note range. Same is true for any of these cinematic effects. Different sample on every key. We have all the VS waves. The depth of the sound library is astonishing. Just the number of noises that you get. You have a whole noise department of different kinds of noise to draw from to start to layer into these presets. There's also an opportunity, like I've done here, I call this exorcismatic. Sounds very simple, a little bit of, a little troubling until you, and what's happening there is that you're able, in the modulation section, to take one of the samples that you're not even hearing and use a sample as a modulator to create AM or FM effects or drive your cutoff frequency crazy, like in that case. So it has a really, really interesting forbidding kind of modulation there. And so that cross modulation between the sample world and the oscillators is, or the filter, is really stunning and can sound really dangerous. over here you'll notice there's a lot of performance controls. 2 sliders with, they're latchable, and 2 wheels. So in every sense, this kind of library that's normally found in, let's say, a film composer's workflow of terabytes of interesting and engaging sounds, well, you've got enough effects, sound power here to make an introduction to every song you do that's interesting, and you have one keyboard on stage. So it's really built for the stage and the studio. In fact, there's a new feature here that we've done for the first time called Playlist. You can organize all these sounds, because there's like 1,000 programs on board. In the playlist, you can organize them for sets, 10 different sets of 16 sounds each, and able to call them up at the press of a button. So in every way, it's a hybrid instrument for hybrid applications for many different people. Different kinds of players, different kind of programmers, and sound designers. Anyway, if you have any other questions about this or any other Dave Smith instrument, please talk to your Sweetwater sales engineer.